So you're PCSing to the area and you're wondering, how should you invest? This is the video for you. I'm gonna go through as comprehensive of a conversation as I can to give you all the information that I can to make the most educated decision on how and where to invest in the area when you PCS here as a military person. I'm AJ Baduke with the Emerald Group right here on the Emerald Coast. If you haven't done so already and you're interested in the area, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and also jingle the bell so that you get notified every time we do another video. We're doing these videos everywhere from Pensacola to Panama City Beach. Those are the areas that we cover, there to there, everywhere in between, all the way to the northern Florida border. So if you have any questions or you want a video done of a specific area, go ahead and hit us up. We're getting calls and messages, specifically Facebook messages, all the time, and we love it. We can keep track of who's contacting us, get back to you as soon as we can. So if you enjoy that method of communication, we do too, but we will accept all forms, courier, pigeon, smoke signals, whatever it is. So just let us know if you have any questions about the area and we'll be happy to help you out. All right, so you just got your orders. You're coming to Hurlburt or Duke or Eglin, and you're not sure for how long, but you know that this is a great area to invest in. And so what are the next steps? Maybe you've purchased a property before, maybe you haven't. So let's talk about the different scenarios that could potentially pop up and what questions you might have. Obviously, I'm not going to know all of your questions, so I might not answer everything in this video, and that's okay. This is just going to lay the foundational groundwork for you. And if you have any additional questions, all you got to do is just hit us up. You can talk to me, Mongo, any of the team members, and all of us will be able to help you with additional information for any specific questions that you have on investing in the area. So with that being said, just in the event that there is one or some of you that are coming to the area and have no knowledge of this area. So you've got military bases in Pensacola and Mary Esther and going through into Eglin, which you can kind of call, well, it's right there by Niceville and Valparaiso, but it's kind of its own area, if you will. So those are the big areas. The other thing to consider about this area is you're on the Emerald Coast. These are some of the most beautiful beaches in the world, definitely in the US, but also in the world. They're just gorgeous. The white sand, the emerald water, which is why we're called the Emerald Coast. So two things that are thriving in this area are military and tourism. So the economy in this entire area is pretty stable. As everything goes up, so does our economy. But even as things start to slip, our economy stays pretty strong because there's job security in the military, government, and tourism industries. So it is a very, very safe investment. So then the question becomes, what type of investor are you going to be? Are you going to be the type of investor that buys it and leaves it? Or do you want to come back and visit? So that's going to help dictate what type of property you purchase, right? So just looking at your ROI, your return on investment. If you are wanting to purchase a single family residence, so we're talking about a house, then you're going to want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a garage and a small yard so that you can appeal to the majority of the audience of people that are going to be here long term, specifically military folks. So you're going to want to be close to the bases and you're going to want a house. You don't want anything too elaborate because the more elaborate it is, the higher potential for something to get broken, right? So something pretty simple, not too big. You want big enough to capture a wide audience, but not so big that you have to charge more and the audience isn't quite as big and there's really no reason for it. So you don't need something super nice and elaborate, simple, cost effective, easy to fix. And close to the bases, right? Now, let's say you want to actually do something a little bit different. So that's what you're going to do if you really don't have any intention of coming back. But if you really enjoy the area, you know about the area, or you know that you're not going to be here for very long, but you are going to want to visit after you PCS, then you could start, and you have the means. We're going to go into the means in a little bit. You're going to want a condo. The highest return on investment for a condo in the area is going to be a 2-bedroom, 1-bath facing the water, specifically the Gulf. And that's a great place to visit. This is where you're going to come into your short-term rentals. This is also going to get a little bit hairy when it talks to your type of financing. So the things that rent out the fastest here for short-term rentals are 2-bedroom, 1-bath. You don't need more than that. You can even get away sometimes with a 1-bedroom if it has like the bunk beds in the hallways. Those are really good too. And those are great for when you want to come back, because if you're just coming back as just yourself, or even if you're a family but you're just coming back for like a week, it's just so much easier to have a smaller space that you have a property management company handling all the constant turnover. So let's talk about turnover rates between the two. With your single family residence, most likely, and for the purposes of this video, because we're talking about the most efficient and effective use of your money. So if we're doing houses, then we're talking about long-term rentals, probably military members. We're talking 6 months to a year. So turnover rate is a bit slower. Now on your condo end, you're likely doing short-term rentals. You're talking maybe one night to maybe a week, 30 days almost tops. And that's if someone wants to kind of pay like top dollar, maybe a traveling nurse who has like bougie taste. Nothing against y'all, really. I do the same thing. You know, if I'm going out of town, I want the best of the best, you know. But the turnover rate is going to be much higher. So in either case, I highly recommend a property management company. I'm telling you from experience, you do not want to deal with this on your own, especially if you're in another state, another country. You don't know where you're going to be unless you are right next door to that unit. You need somebody else to handle it for you, because while there are going to be issues, and I will come back to that, the insignificant issues that arise on the day-to-day, you don't want to be dealing with. You don't have time to deal with it. If you're in a different time zone, or you're working, or you're deployed, it is just a mess. And it is so much better to just pay the money to your property management company and like you take care of it, right? Because you're gonna have funds in reserve. So if something breaks in the middle of the night, the property management company already knows what they have the authority to fix on your behalf, or what they have the authority to tend to on your behalf, versus when they have to come pester you for permission to get something taken care of. Usually it's there's a list of kind of warrantable items along with a specific dollar amount as to what they can just go ahead and fix without troubling you. And they'll send you a receipt and say, hey, we had to fix these issues. Now your funds in reserves are depleted to this amount. And so we would like you to put more money into this account to have on hold for the next possible issue. Okay, so let's talk about financing, because which one you're going to do doesn't just involve what you want to do and what your plans are, but also what do you have the ability to do, right? So you're moving here. This is going to be your primary residence, at least for a little while. If you're a first-time home buyer and you're already kind of scrounging up the funds for your closing costs, and you're using your VA loan, well, in either case, you're already short on funds. You're gonna want to go the single family residence, the house option, right? Because for the condo, it is highly likely that you're going to have to make some kind of down payment, probably a considerable one if you're going into one of these condos that allows short-term rentals. And there are some that don't. There are subdivisions of houses that do not allow short-term rentals, and there are some condos that do not allow short-term rentals. And so that's something that we have to discuss very specifically whenever we're trying to help you to decide on what specific property to use as an investment, if it actually meets your criteria. This is going to be on a case-by-case basis, because some condos, like I said, some subdivisions and some condos don't allow short-term rentals. And then sometimes that HOA takes a vote and later on they do allow it. So it's going to be very, very specific. It's not going to be something that you can just go on Zillow and be like, hey, this one doesn't say anything about an HOA, so it's probably fine. No, a lot of times it just doesn't incorporate that information. And even if you're being sent automatic listings by your agent, there isn't a way currently in our MLS to say only show properties that allow short-term rentals. It just doesn't exist yet in our MLS. We are working on that, and hopefully it will come into play soon, so that we can put that into our listings and say, hey, yes, this works, or no, it doesn't. But in any case, right now, it'll just be case by case, and you'll have to ask very directly about a specific property. So going back to financing, if you're using your VA loan and you don't have any money down, probably go in the single family residence. Okay, so remember, 3-bedroom, probably 2-car garage. If your pre-approval amount is pretty low and you can only get like a 1-car garage or a carport or something, you know, that's fine. It's not going to appease the bigger audience. And that's fine. You know, it's just, I'm giving you like what you should be looking for, what you should be striving for if you're able to obtain it. So if on the other hand, you are able to put some money down, then you could potentially still use your VA unit for the condo, depending on what type of condo it is. So this is where we go into an even different type of further classification. And I'm not going to go into this one too much, but in some cases you can use your VA loan, and in some cases you can't. You're going to have to use your conventional loan because the condo just won't qualify. And the reason I'm not going to go too far into it is because the VA is constantly updating their list of condos that they will and will not finance. So that's going to be another case-by-case situation where we look at the condo itself and say, okay, you're going to be able to use your VA loan, or no, you're not. Sticking with the condo and financing, let's say that you can use your VA loan. Actually, we can this will be pertinent to both houses and to condos. Let's say we use your VA loan, regardless of whether or not you had to make a down payment. If you use your VA loan to purchase this property as your single family residence, then this property will sit on your entitlement. So your entitlement is, there's been some new information coming out, so I'm not sure right now if it's still in the 480s or if they actually took the cap away. But either way, if you purchase with your VA loan, you have the X number of entitlement prior to that, and then you buy this property for $200,000. You're now using up $200,000 of your entitlement. So you have your entitlement minus $200,000. Let's say you PCS out of the area and you keep the property. You don't sell it, you keep it, you turn it into a rental, which is what we're talking about doing. And you want to go and buy another house, right? We're going to keep on buying more properties because we're building our empire, right? So you go to your next duty station and you go to buy another property. That property is more or less, whichever. Let's say it's your forever home, right? And it's $500,000 and your original entitlement was only for $480,000. You've now used up $200,000 of that $480,000. Or rather, whatever it's down to. Let's say you've paid off like $20,000 towards the principal during your stay here. So now you're at $180,000 of your entitlement is currently being used, and you only had $480,000, and you're trying to buy a house for $500,000. Just know that you have that chunk that isn't available. So right now you have to put down 25% of what the gap is between how much you have left of your entitlement and how much the purchase price of your new property is going to be. So that's the only downside of using your VA loan if it's not going to be your primary residence for very long. However, you can potentially refinance that original VA loan into a conventional loan, freeing up your entitlement so that when you go to buy that $500,000 house, you're only paying 25% on $20,000 instead of whatever the math would have been otherwise. Now, that's assuming that they haven't increased that entitlement to just be unlimited yet. There was talks of it. I haven't seen it come through yet. So that part might go into like just not even being pertinent in the future. But I believe as of right now, there are still caps on the entitlement. Keep in mind that entitlement and approval are two different things. I know I'm bouncing around here, but it's so much information, and even like drafting it up into columns and stuff, I couldn't think of a great way to just like get all this information to you. So approval is what the bank says they will accept as a risk for you specifically. This takes into account your entitlement, your credit score, your debt to income ratio, and your actual income. Versus the entitlement is just like the VA saying, yeah, we'll back your loans up to this amount, but only what you're qualified for. So two separate things. Just because the VA says, yeah, we'll back you up to $480,000, that doesn't mean that the bank is actually going to give you $480,000. So keep that in mind as well. Going back to doing the refinance to the conventional loan from the VA loan to free up your eligibility to purchase this more expensive property. Nothing wrong with that, except if you don't stay in this forever home. You know, it happens sometimes where like, this house is amazing. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I've gotten to this incredible place in life where I can buy a house right on the water. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn this forever home into yet another rental. And I'll come into why I wouldn't do that later on. Now, the problem is going to be if you turn that into a rental, you cannot you're not going to be able to refinance it into a conventional loan and still have your full eligibility. You only get to do that one time. So what you've used up is what you've used up until you sell all the properties that you originally purchased using a VA loan. I learned this the hard way, kind of sucked. So just keep that in mind whenever you're considering converting or refinancing from a VA loan to a conventional loan. You can only do that once. And then you're going to have to sell off everything if you want to have access to your full VA eligibility again in the future. Okay. Now, why would I not recommend that you rent out a property that you considered your forever home? This is only if that forever home was like $500,000 in maybe our area, which means it's a great property, probably has a whole lot of upgrades, maybe a great water feature in the backyard or something. The nicer the property, the higher the liability for risk for your tenants to break stuff. It's just the way it is. Sure, you can take a giant deposit from them, but you're already going to be charging a significant amount more. Now you're going to be charging a higher deposit and you still have that big risk, which means if something does go wrong, you're going to have to pay a lot of money to go fix it. So it's just more on your mind. And the way that things go up in value so steadily, you would probably make more money selling that property and buying 2 rentals, which you could probably do a 1031 exchange. Talk to your CPA. I'm thinking off the cuff here. I'm pretty sure you can do it with 2 properties because as long as you're incurring the same amount of debt, I believe you can do it. So basically you would now have 2 rental properties in place of 1, and they would be to that standard that a rental property should be as opposed to a forever house, right? So always building your empire, making your money work for you, right? Because the reality is we're all trying to get to this amazing life, right? It's not about how much money do you have. The reality is we just want this amazing life that we can have this freedom to go and do the things that we want. It's not about what the bank account looks like per se. It's what that look in the bank account affords us as far as quality of life. So we talked about the differences between long-term and short-term and what each of those should look like whenever you're purchasing. The benefit to doing the condo route and just going straight with the conventional loan is you don't have to worry about that whole thing of later down the line, are you going to lose your eligibility? You know, save that for your single family residence or for your primary residence, right? Unless you just don't have the funds, in which case, yeah, continue to build your empire any way that you can, right? Because you're going to be making money the whole time, you know, while you have it. And then any money that you've made, then later on, if you do run out of your VA eligibility, as long as you've been smart with your money, then you can just purchase in the future, put 20% down and just do a straight conventional loan, right? So, and I'm saying 20% because you don't want that PMI, your primary mortgage insurance. It can be an extra couple $100 a month, right? That's a lot. Just one of the benefits to using your VA loan, you can finance 100% of the loan and you're not paying any PMI, which is wonderful. A couple more differences there. So let's talk about the risks, right? Whether you're renting out a house, a standard house, or a condo, there are going to be risks involved. And you're like, AJ, if I go get a condo, then I'm going to have to deal with HOA fees. Sure, but I'll tell you what you're not going to have to deal with. You're not going to have to deal with the new roof. You're not going to have to deal with pool maintenance. You're not going to have to deal with yard maintenance. You're not going to have to deal with painting. You're not going to have to deal with parking. Like, everything is already pretty well taken care of. Yes, an issue could arise, and then you're going to pay an assessment that you're going to share with the rest of the condo owners, absolutely. But on the daily or even on the monthly, the risk is much lower. Now, if you purchase a house and that's what you want to rent out, well, pretty much every 15 years you're looking at a new roof. Yard maintenance, who knows if the tenants are actually going to take care of the yard or not. And you're probably looking at a bigger space. Chances are the flooring probably has some carpeting, so you're probably going to want to rip out all the flooring and just tile the whole thing. That's what I would do. Basically, either way, either unit, you're going to want to make it indestructible, right? Because whether you have a family in there or you're getting constant turnover from like spring breakers, people break stuff all the time. So remember those things to consider the risk, weigh your options, and also make it indestructible. The return on investment tends to be higher for short-term rentals, but keep in mind it's also higher risk, right? Higher risk, higher gain. It just tends to be the name of the game. use a property management company in either scenario. If you go the condo route, there are property management companies out there that will market the property, they will clean the property, they will handle the turnover, they will handle anything that breaks, you know, up to a specific limit, of course. And whenever you want to visit, you just tell them, hey, block off these dates, don't let anybody stay there. That's when I want to stay there. Good to go. When it comes to the house, they're basically just going to be the interface for the tenants. Like, AC went out, water heater stopped working, I lost my key and don't know how to get back into the house, that kind of thing. Both companies are going to handle that. I think right now you're looking at around 25% to the property management company on the short-term rental side and 10% on the long-term rental side. But again, higher return on the short-term rental side. So, but you have both of those options there. For the folks that are gonna go with the long-term rental, tidbit of advice. Whenever you get someone in there, I don't care if it's a friend, get the full contract, make sure you have a property management company, and take a significant security deposit. If you have the ability and you want to allow pets, you will get a higher audience. Charge more for it. Absolutely, because there is nothing, like nobody wants to deal with animals out here. If you're able to get a specific insurance, I don't know if this is even possible, that will allow high risk dog breeds like pit bulls or Rottweilers, and you're cool with it, do that too. Charge even more for that, you know, because you have the ability to. And I'm sorry for anyone who's, you know, looking at this and they're like, man, you're just like trying to rip us off. No, this is business. Okay, this is absolutely business. So, and there's a higher risk involved. You're gonna pay more for that insurance. The risk is higher. And there, again, there's higher potential for something to get broken or chewed on or busted through. But in any case, that's what you do there. Now, when it comes time for turnover, all right, and the tenant has given their 30 days or, you know, you've decided, whatever it is, they're not gonna stay, they're gonna leave. Do not have your property management company do the final walkthrough for you to tell you whether or not the property is still in good shape. You get someone you trust, like, that is not part of that property management company. You get a friend of yours, girlfriend, boyfriend, realtor friend, like, somebody that is actually only your person, okay? Not someone that's been interfacing with both you and the tenant for the past 11, 12 months, okay? Because that loyalty tends to start shifting, especially when the property management company wants to maintain that tenant and get them into another one of their rentals, right? They want them to keep that security deposit money so they can easily transfer to the next property. They continue getting that 10% on that monthly income from that same tenant. They're not real worried about you anymore, right? Especially if you're firing them or you're going to sell, right? So get someone that you trust to go in there before you release that deposit. I've seen it happen in the past. It's not a pretty situation. So you need someone to go in there, even take a full-on video. What does it smell like? What does it look like? Are there broken doors? Was something chewed on? Was there a roof leak that you never found out about? Do all the light switches work? All of these things. Have someone that you trust go and do a final walk through the property and then take those findings and decide for yourself, is there anything that the tenants are responsible for and need to pay for out of their deposit? Obviously, there are going to be some restrictions to that. You know, anything that's considered normal wear and tear, you're not going to be able to keep their deposit for that. But they put a hole in the wall or a hole in the door or they chew something up, absolutely. You get a quote to have that fixed and you take it out of their deposit and you give them the rest of it, all right? Just make sure you do it quickly. You'll have to read through the contract and check on the local guidelines because you do have a specific amount of time that you have to release their deposit by, otherwise notifying them why you are not giving them their entire deposit back. I think that was quite a bit of information on one, why to invest in the area, where to invest in the area, how to use financing, best practices for investing in the area, what type of investments to do, and why you would do either one. If I left anything out or you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments below. Send me a message, give me a call, call the team, whichever. Any of us will be absolutely happy to help you figure out your next move. And if you're coming to the area soon, definitely reach out to us. So I hope that this video was very informative for you, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so that you don't miss out on any of our videos. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.